So what's the session about, Ali?
I don't know why we have a session for it, because we could just have assigned a bunch of work items. I want to make ARM work properly on LTSP, at least for the architectures we support. And we want to build standalone images, so you can install LTSP on the thin clients that have local disk storage. With these typical things like WISE or stuff like that. And we could have just listed five work items and be done.
Yeah,
that's what we will do.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got the work item to make the IMG stuff, ARM work,
and make the IMG stuff work.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Good. So I already gave you the instructions for the IMG stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, make that in the script.
Yeah. Can you put it in the specs or work items in there?
Sure. It was a.
And then we are done.
Just let me get up on the screen.
I think I'm going to use this session as the charge my laptop session. It's IRC loads for free nodes.
Yeah, that's the VGA cable and shot.
Oh yeah. Different potentials.
Probably more that's bigger.
Make sure the people in the back can see.
I was
There's another one of these crowded LTSP sessions.
If I can read it, everyone can.
We had several of these.
In Ubuntu LTSP sessions, you can't find the room big enough.
So what does it mean?
We're actually 5 in the Ubuntu session. It's like incredible.
So what does it mean, make the IMG stuff work, by the way?
Well, we already have IMGs, but we are serving them over network. And instead of serving images over network, we want to install them or be able to install them on a local disk. It's like 20 lines of code and we are done. It's not like it's a big issue.
And how do you do that? Is it
we have an image builder already, so we just need to add bootability to that.
Yeah. So currently, LTSP build client generates a true root that then is compressed as a squash fs.
Okay.
What it's missing currently is grub. So the link I just added is basically how to create the TMG file, installing grub, configuring grub, copying the squash fs image, and setting the boot kernel command line so that it actually boots from it.
Awesome.
But from that point on, you can basically...
It's mostly about adding bootloader support to the images we have.
For x86 or for ARM?
For both?
Yeah,
it's trivial to add to both.
Oh, that's cool.
As I said, it's a few lines of code and we are done. It's not much.
So the idea is just to add a flag so that you can have LTSP built-in give you the TMG. You can just DD over to a device.
Does PXE work on ARM, by the way?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So what devices do you support?
On 3 and 4.
Cool.
But you just said there's a work item to make LTSP work on all our ARM architecture?
Yeah, we don't have proper ARM integration yet. So, like, it doesn't generate any boot or any boot stuff for you. So that needs me to copy a few of our scripts from the image builders into LTSP. It's just mainly a copy and paste job. The whole thing should be done in less than 2 days of work. Wow.
Right. I think I added something else to the blueprint. Oh yeah, we've got a bit more than that actually. So we've got an action item of making maintenance easier, which is basically get Debian to maintain our stuff.
Yeah, so
we're getting close. I mean, we currently only have LTSP that has a delta in Ubuntu. LDM no longer has, LTSPFS no longer has. So it's getting better, but I'm probably going to try on my spare time to merge as much as we can from Debian for LTSP and try to reduce the delta quite significantly. currently our biggest delta is that we actually have the LTS Ubuntu Live code that's in the LTSP package, but we want to allow for other network boot stuff in Ubuntu than just LTSP, so we'll move it to another package.
Right, but I think that
some of that
will not help you in Debian at all if you have our live boot stuff in Debian, because they don't use Casper on their live
right.
boot.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just going to be moved to an Ubuntu package for now. That will reduce our delta quite a bit of Debian, and then I probably need to switch to DH7, switch to the same stuff as Debian, because it's a bit archaic currently. It's still all DH.
So how do you update the operating system if you do a squash effect?
You don't, you generate it again.
No, you regenerate it over and over.
Okay.
Which is probably something we should address here, because that's easy to do if you net root, but it will be harder if you have a local install.
Right, yeah, I'm guessing for this...
But you are working on the image replacement thingy.
Right, yeah.
So we should just pull that in.
Yeah, we could have a storage for, well, the instructions I pasted basically create an X4 partition where you dump this FS, but you could dump 6 of them if you want and just switch between them.
You have an agent that runs in that image that stores another file, R6.
We could add a script somewhere in the TSP that basically says, oh, check at this location if you have
some argument that looks on the network.
Yeah.
And then you need to modify the boot table so that you boot from the new one. And
yeah. Right. But that's what we're going to have anyway because of the other.
That's not hard.
Yeah.
It's a bit more work than 2 days, but it's not hard.
Well, we already have the plan of switching between image system for foundations and other stuff. So I think the idea it's going to be easy to just book LTSP in it and use it as well. Oh, and I accidentally covered the next point. Oh, and then one after that as well. Right, so the only thing left on the list is, do we want to try and get chroot upgrades, as in list upgrades?
But it only works
I think we are pretty close.
If we sanitize tools. Currently we don't install recommends. I think that needs to be fixed for a proper dist upgrade.
Yeah, so you can definitely take an action item to investigate enabling recommends, because it used to be a mess when you disabled it initially.
Right.
But it's probably got better.
The problem was it generated huge images back then. So
but currently we're building fat clients, so it can't be much bigger than that anyway.
So all my thin clients wouldn't work anymore with the current LTSP.
This one you would.
I have the biggest one I have at home, 64 megabyte of RAM, and
it's going to be tight.
Celeron 800 or something.
Yeah, I think it would still good because Alkis their setup are 64 megaphone. We are turning. Yes.
Okay.
We are turning.
Mine will work.
Well, he's using NBD swap to improve to fix the memory a bit.
I know.
He disabled Tron, Art, and a few other daemons I got that were not really useful. Probably some more. It should be booting on 64 megs of RAM. I would also like someone to investigate turning on ZRAM for the fingerprints, because since we deprecated Cache, we didn't turn it on. And ZRAM, I hear, is a lot better than pretty much everything else that's done so far.
It is.
It doesn't have the drawbacks of
Cache. It's supposed to vanish, I heard. It's supposed to vanish in favor of, how is it called? Fast? Something with F.
They really like to replace it every time we want to use it.
Yeah, it's really annoying. How is it called? But this implementation actually needs a swap device. It doesn't work without having a physical swap device. And then it adds, on top of the swap device, it adds compressed, RAM compression. Which I find very annoying.
Yes. Because you would have
such ideas.
You could get away with it. You can create a temper first, then DD block device on it, create that as a swap, load it, load the other one on top.
Look for a ZRAM replacement.
Unix? No. Maybe on the Debian discussion there was some mention of it. Nope.
But yeah, apparently at least Adam and a few others are even considering turning on ZRAM for everyone.
I think it's called front cache.
Front cache. Like that? Looks like VLC stuff, all of this.
Okay, well then I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I guess we probably should turn on ZRAM as long as we have it, because it's kind of free and it improves the performance a lot.
Definitely.
So, the only one who will need some convincing is LTS, because he usually doesn't like that stuff. He prefers LBD swap, which is stupid. But
why? Because I kind of agree with him.
Well, let's say that if you lose for any reason access to your NBD swap device, you're really, really screwed. You can have a really nice HA setup for NBD. You're not going to replicate your swap. So if your swap connection disconnects for whatever reason, even if you're in an HA environment, well, you just crash.
Yeah.
ZRAM will only 64 meg system might use what, like maybe 10 meg at boot time and make between 30 and 40 megs of swap with that, which is going to be way enough to get it working.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to still support NBD swap because you can actually have both.
Yeah.
But we should really turn on ZRAM.
We have an upstart job for that nowadays.
I think so, yeah.
ZRAM-conf.
Okay.
It's a package actually.
Oh, so you just
need to install it and that's it.
So if we just need to depend on it, it's going to be me because I'm doing the uploads anyway. Is it in main?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it's in main, it's even easier.
I think it's in main.
So Stefan, what is the enabling documents thing about?
ZRAM-conf or config.
Investigate enabling documents. What is that about?
Currently, when we build an LTSP route, we don't have recommends enabled.
To lower the...
So when you install a package, it will never install its recommends. It's the equivalent of always using dash no dash install dash recommends.
And have you seen a lot of issues triggered by that?
No, none at all. We've seen issues when we add it. That's why we turn it off. It's just that if we turn it back on, it's going to be closer to a regular Ubuntu system, which is better in general.
So Stefan, it's a new verse apparently, but it's like 10 lines of code in an upstart job.
Okay. We need to just grab it. I guess I can get Doco to give me an OK for the MIR in 5 minutes.
And Adam maintains it, so...
Oh, okay, even better. I can get Adam to give me an
You just took my code, ripped it out of SE100 ZRAM stuff and put it in a special package.
Right, yeah, it's a Debian native package that only contains a single file. So I'm sure that, I don't think we even need to ask security for the MIR. We just need to move it into main.
Right.
Or the ones are just going to end up copying the upstart job, and that's it. Actually, it's better to just do that, because it's a single upstart job that I don't need to get an MIR for us. Alright, good enough. We need to give some action items to Jonathan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I was willing to take the ZRAM one because it looks...
You can't upload it.
I can work around that.
But if I need to sponsor an upload that just adds a single word to a file, it's not going to be terribly useful.
Okay, well...
You can find the MIR if you want, but I'm sure it's going to be much faster if I just book Doco directly.
Yeah. What else still needs to be done for LTSP besides that? What else needs to be done? Alcus wants to do away with NBD by default for NFS, but I don't.
Not going to happen.
I thought you decided that.
NBD by default for NFS?
We're replacing NBD by NFS again.
No, replacing NFS, yeah.
Yes, replacing our current NBD implementation by NFS because it thinks that NFS is cooler.
Did you try it?
I guess so, but if you have tried it with a low memory
booting NFS shares took like 20 minutes while
on the
NVD. But no, on any device. While booting from an NVD squash NFS is done in seconds.
And decreases the load on the server quite a bit as well. Not going to happen, but it's free to add that upstream. It's just not going to happen in.
Well, it is upstream. Debian uses it.
Not really anymore.
Debian is not defaulting to
backend is switching to NVD now.
Oh. Yeah.
Because we're actually using. We no longer have NVD code in LTSP. We're just using the NVD code from the NVD package now, and we just sync it in Ubuntu. So it's all clean. Debian can just switch to it, and it works.
Cool.
I could update the LDM things, but that's also a small one.
Well, it's a work item added, so you have your name on it.
I think the upgrade stuff is indeed blocked by having install recommends as one of the things. The other one that I'm going to just give to Alcase is ensuring that we don't actually do any modification on top of the throat anymore. But I think everything was moved to the LTSP live init stuff now.
The Ubuntu stuff that's broken, is that's something that needs to be fixed in LTSP, right?
Yes, it is, but it's kind of the problem.
Well, what we can assign it to?
Well, currently I would like to see them file a bug to start with. Then maybe Alcase is just going to do it. That's not impossible. But yeah, with 12.04 we did most of the changes we wanted to do for 12.10. So we're actually pretty close to having what we want. We probably I think we may want to, but I'm not going to do it, to get some fat client options into the installer, so that when you install from DI, you can actually get a fat client built from it. Because it should have all the packages that are needed. This week I have nice, I'm just not going to do it because it's going to be painful to test. I mean, it already takes me an hour and a half to test the TSP. With a pen client, if I switch to fat client, it's going to take me like 2 hours and a half. So if someone wants to do it, that's some potential work you have.
Can you run that by me again, what that is? Fat client support in
DI.
DI,
so but basically, I'm not sure if you want to ask a question for it or if you want to get another GF export entry for it. But basically generating with dash fat client instead of without it.
I'd like to.
Did you guys drop the UDEP we had? Did you remove the UDEP?
No, UDEP is still there. I just
so it's only one option. You can pre-seed that.
We could add it as a pre-seed only option initially for testing. I don't like asking questions during the install.
No, but I'm 100% sure that you can hand over all the options that
you can
time once or in a pre-seed.
Oh right, make sure that actually works would be a good idea.
Yes. That would be necessary.
We might want to make it a separate option just to make it easier for people to figure out. So like LTSP fat client equals desktop. So like equals Ubuntu, equals Ubuntu, whatever. No, actually, it's just going to be a true false because we can't say equals Ubuntu when you install media is Ubuntu, as it won't be able to download, as it doesn't have internet access.
Even if it does have internet access, it won't work?
It would work, but you don't want something that sometimes works.
What is that shitty Quantal.jpg thing there?
Where do you see that?
On the bottom left.
It's for a potential joke at some time. I saw this on some forum or something and I thought, if something's really bad in Quantal, I can use that as a slide somewhere.
Is that an actual Quetzal?
No, I don't think so, but people won't notice.
Yeah. Your attention is pulled to different things than the bird.
I should have to be careful what I have on my screen.
I was watching it all the time. I was wondering, what is it? Some rant? Some rant over the bad years.
If I did have a rant, I could use that.
So anything else that we think would be useful as well to LTSP besides all of the stuff that LTS is already working on?
I don't know what you guys do upstream. Out of it.
I tried just to make sure that upstream is kind of stable. That's pretty much what I do.
What about Scotty's code?
For LTSP6, yeah, we'll probably get that eventually. I think at the current development rate, in 2 or 3 Hackfest, we'll have it.
What about that?
There is some code that uses PAM for SSH authentication.
Also,
Yeah, the PAM SSH module actually works as and is in the archive. We're missing the NSS part.
And David installer where it gets to 50% where it pulls the LTSP root and it gets stuck there. Could I look at it again at having something that has a living progress bar?
Yes, LTS started looking at it.
Implementing it.
LTS actually started looking at it. LTSP build clients now accept some of the deadconf environment variable. So you could move LTSP build clients into silent mode and just have it print deadconf status commands and just send that straight to deadconf. So it's possible. It might need quite a few tricks into LTSP build client for it to happen.
I want to learn about DI.
When I fixed your
That's
code.
not DI, that's really painful, or piping
Yes,
stuff
piping deadconf.
through FIFOs from one process to the other, opening file
But
descriptors.
I think just getting the various steps of the LTSP build client, which we have like 4 or 5 of them, would probably be quite an improvement already.
So we skip to like 20%
Yes.
or 14.
Do you actually use DI anywhere? Because apparently server switches to live images. So we will very, very likely drop our alternates.
Yeah, well, we're going to be kind of screwed when they do that. Because when they actually do it, we're kind of dead.
Then you have to ship it like we do in Ubuntu.
Yeah, but they won't like me adding 400 megs to the Ubuntu CD.
So then everyone will have to use Ubuntu.
Actually, that's
But I
wrong.
could imagine that they go with a DVD for server, simply because servers.
Yeah, but server is not going to ship a desktop.
Right, yeah.
And we
No
need that.
problem with LTSP.
So what I would probably end up doing is, with the stuff that LTS has been doing, it should be possible for us to just ship the server packages in /pool of the Ubuntu desktop CD, install LTSP from it, and just use the squashfs from the desktop image as the squashfs for the thin client.
Yeah.
By just installing LTSP client core in it, and that's it. Which was the whole idea of LTS to actually use the Ubuntu squashfs as the LTSP squashfs, instead of building a separate squashfs.
I just wanted to note that we probably don't have any DI images at all in the near future.
I would be usually surprised if that happens for 12.10, but that might happen for 7.4 indeed. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how far the server team gets with it.
So we should probably start looking into being able to use LiveFS, SquashFS as a thin client route. Because if that stuff works, we can just tell the desktop, well, just add a few megs to the desktop CD and get it working with LTSP. And cut 300 megs out of the Ubuntu DVD, which is all kind of nice.
You can stack squashfs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not that easy with overlay FS, but you can.
Wouldn't you just have couldn't you just have what's in the LTSP client packages in second squashfs?
Not worth it. Just install it by default, it's not arming anymore.
Yeah, by default, okay.
Yes. Or post-install. I mean, we need to unpack it anyway when we install. Currently, Ubuntu unpacks the squashfs when you install Ubuntu on a target because we need to update the SSH kit. So if you need to unpack it, it doesn't cost you much to add a package to it. They just won't have LTSP live, but we have a Ubuntu for that.
How about something like Juju integration and LTSP in the clouds?
Well, it would be easy to do.
Yeah. I wonder.
Except that when you've got your DHCP server running in the cloud, it's kind of pointless.
Right.
But deploying, you should have come to the Ubuntu session. We are actually planning to get a Ubuntu server back to life.
Oh.
But not as a separate media, just as an option using a separate Squashfest on the same media. And one of the things it's going to have is LXC installed by default, so that you can deploy Juju charms locally to it on with LXC. And
so that's LTSP plus the next generation.
Yeah. And Zenture for the web interface management for everything, with Quantal integration for everything.
Wow.
So yeah, well, that's not the plan for 12.10. That's the plan.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, we want to go into that direction, and I think it makes sense. Because then when you boot at Ubuntu, you can choose between install a workstation, install a terminal server, or install a classroom server. And when you install either a terminal server or a workstation, you can just join it to your existing server, and it just works. So yeah, and probably using Sembafo for the directory, so you can just join Windows machines as well. It works great. I'm using Sembafo for testing on my machine. My Windows 8 machine didn't yet notice it was Sembafo. I'm using the Windows server management tools to manage my Sembafo machine. It works great. Which is good because it doesn't actually have any management tool. So you need to use the Windows AD management tools. But the point is NTR will fix that because they actually have the UI for some of them. Right. Anything else?
Not for me.
All right.
I guess that's it.
Great.
Well, yeah, there's stuff like the LTSP website, but I guess none of us wants to go there.
We are working on that anyway.
Well, that's upstream stuff.
Yeah, it's upstream.
It's not really UDS.
Yeah, upstream is working on it. Well, mostly having meetings more than actually working on it, but something is happening.
Hey, I saw you guys have regular meetings now.
I never made it yet, but yes.
Where do you meet? Because apparently it's not on the
LTSP website channel.
I don't actually need either. I joined the channel, but
yeah, I always just see somebody saying, "Do we meet now?" And somebody else answers, "Yes, let's go." And then the channel is quiet. So like you have to go somewhere. nobody tells anybody where they go.
Yeah, Ron and a few others selected a few people to be on that thing. We've got one guy who actually wants to do the work, so I'm just going to let him do.
And do you guys have any idea about BTS and CN?
I'm waiting to know the UDS location.
Yeah, but it will very, very likely be Europe. So
yeah.
I think it's very unlikely that it's not Europe.
Yeah, that's going to completely mess up the plans for LTSP.
Yeah.
Because we'll be completely out of sync again.
Yeah.
I mean, I can easily get to LTSP BTS because it's driving distance.
No,
but
for me.
Yeah. We could have an LTSP BTS in Europe, I wouldn't mind because...
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Greece. It should be cheap.
Yeah, sure.
If there aren't riots at the moment. So
yeah. Well, and if you actually need to be able to make it there and back to UDS without being stuck in the country, that should be possible.
Yeah.
So, but as soon as the UDS location is actually announced with a time, then we can try and figure out what we're going to do. Because usually at least half of us are going to UDS afterwards. So.
But Jim wanted to book within the next 2 weeks, I think he said.
Oh.
So I'm not sure we will.
Does he actually have to book anything? Because I mean, we're always off season, and they're just keeping the most.
He's not booking, but he's running around and getting people involved.
Oh yeah.
And, making sure that they book their flights and everything around that. So
well, hopefully
he said something like he wants it a week or two after this UDS. He wants to actually.
Well, hopefully Nicole will announce the location within a week or two after this UDS. Because it would be kind of weird to have it announced in Europe and then they say, oh, it's going to be Orlando again.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
So, you know, I've never used the fat client option, so I don't know what it does exactly, but is the intent to run everything locally?
It's a full diskless desktop.
And are you looking at doing a mix, like running some applications through
we have that.
That's something we have since 5 years or something.
So you do X11 basically, right?
No, SSH.
Yeah, SSH and X11. So when you log in on a fat client, everything is going to start locally,
right.
But you're still going to authenticate with the server over SSH. You're still going to get your home directory mounted over SSH from the server.
Right.
And when you're in the session, you can type LTSP-remote apps Firefox, and it's going to spawn Firefox from the server.
Okay, cool.
Just
the other way around it works as well. Like
we've got LTSP local apps and LTSP remote apps.
You can install single apps on your thin client that you run locally.
Yeah, I've seen that thing. I've seen. Now, are you looking at doing another option than X11 for one access, like running an LTSP server that's remote and far away from your local fat client?
I'm still looking at X2Go because I'm involved with them. I'm contributing upstream to that project. But
so teach them packaging.
Packaging is good actually. All the client side is embedded in Ubuntu now.
When they evolved a lot.
Yeah,
since I looked last time.
It's still extremely complicated solution, but when you just use the two packages you need, it's fine. Problem is the server side is based on NX,
which is free.
No, that part is fine. No, it's based on the open source code of NX. Problem is it contains a fork of X.
Oh.
So the security team of Debian and Ubuntu doesn't quite like that.
Yeah.
And until they find some way of moving from their fork of X to just using a patch set on top of the distro X, there is no way that's going into the distro.
Have you tested alternatives to NX?
Not really.
No.
That aren't extremely slow or no. You can use XRDP plus VNC, but that's going to be even slower than NX. So,
why plus VNC?
Well, because last I checked, that's how they were actually attaching to a session.
Okay.
They didn't have a way of actually attaching to an existing X session yet. They were just using VNC.
So there is some work going on. The FreeRDP project lead is working on FreeRDP server. But that's like still early alpha, and I guess the other option could be in theory Spice, but I haven't looked into this recently.
But Spice doesn't really work well on X11. Yeah. So it's going to, Spice is going to be worse than X11 and have the same constraint. Because Spice is useful when you have Windows on the other side.
Right.
But when you have Linux, just send X11 because then you can actually send OpenGL compositing all that stuff just fine.
I think the proper solution, and the one we started on several times over the last 6 years, I think, is to port NX to X.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the way it's going to happen.
I remember Tolev started on that years ago, and
some bits are
even
done.
No Machine said they would do it and would help us.
Yeah.
Well, what about when people move to Wayland?
Then you still use X on top of Wayland. Wayland is just underneath.
For now, yeah.
Yeah, for now.
But Wayland we're probably going to still use X for that because Wayland doesn't have good network support. So we would probably stack Wayland on top of X.
I would expect SSH to get Wayland support, so we could probably.
But this is going to be as bad as
could probably SSH minus W instead of SSH minus X or Y.
Yeah, but SSH minus X is not usable. It's so slow.
Yeah.
I would have to check. From what I saw of how Wayland works, I really doubt they're going to make a low bandwidth protocol using it. So I think our best shot initially is to maybe run Wayland on the client, then start X on top. That's just like Ubuntu is going to do. And when everything is running on Wayland, then we are probably going to do it the other way around, start X, and then get Wayland running on top of it. because it happens to support both. And maybe at some point we can actually just run Waylans over the network if people fix that. So. Hopefully by that time all the clients are going to be so fast that you can just run everything as smart clients. I mean, when you can, you just really just want to run that client.
Sure.
Oh, and actually, action item for you, I think. Oh no, I think you already did that, that's not didn't you? Updates LTSP cluster, so it's perfectly up to date in Ubuntu. Is that done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there might actually be new LTSP cluster updates because there's a new guy at Revolution Linux who wants to fix up and extend LTSP cluster.
Okay.
He has time for it, so I'll keep things up to date as it gets tested.
Right. Yeah, that's the guy who talks all the time on IRC, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so today, 1204, does that work with the fat client option?
Yes, sure. I think we can use it already.
It might have. Yeah, it did because that's what all the Greek school are using.
That's what I mean.
And they're moving from level 4 to 1204, so 1204 works as well because that's what they're doing now. We should really make sure that we have that somewhere on the LTSP website because that's really a lot of schools. I saw the last Google Maps and it was like covering all of Greece.
We should definitely have something like a success stories. So
yeah. I think it's somewhere in the plan to get that page after we actually made it non-ugly. But yeah, LTS stuff is quite amazing and widely deployed it is in Greece. And it's not actually deploying anything centrally, they just deploy their stuff and their sites and they are not really technical, they don't be doing that. That's very cool.
Okay.
I should actually check what my next meeting is.
I'll lay down again. Until plenary.
Get busy.
Yep.
I'm probably just going to take a peek into the Zento integration with Ubuntu room, but I don't think we need to do anything there, so I'm the one to release meeting.
That's a good idea because I'm probably going to miss it. What is the significant part of it?
Okay. 3 hours and 55 minutes. I love the place. I still have 4 hours left.
So I'm super curious, I didn't know about the fat client option. So when you do that, can you add specific packages? Like can you have a user that has just Firefox and another one that has OpenOffice?
Well, if you install it, you install your local apps into the client's root. And then
Do you mean from the server?
I mean, basically, how do you handle different users with different set of application requirements?
There's a program called Ubuntu Menu Editor. It's actually called Ubuntu Menu Editor, and you can have different menus for different users. So they'll have the same apps installed, but they'll just see different apps. I'm not sure if that would satisfy.
Oh, so everything's in the image, and you just surface what you want. Okay, I get it. I get it.
The way the fat client option works is, as we are exporting a block device, the client is never going to read it all at the time. It just reads what it needs. So we can have a 50 gigs image. We don't care.
Right. Okay. And how do you handle like configuration issues? Like, so normally when you upgrade a package, there is a post-install script that looks at your home directory configuration, and if there is a need to modify the configuration for a specific application as you upgrade the application, the post-install script does that. But if your home directory is separate from the image, I mean, do you run that script somehow on every user's home directory? Or?
That still works because as far as your thin clients are concerned, it's just a normal disk that it's using, except that it's over the network. But your home directory is still a normal read-write directory over, I think it's SSHFS that is used by default for home.
Yes.
So it's just a network mount. But from the tools that migrate your data or update your local directories inside your home directory, it's just normal home directory as far as
okay, it just updates all the user home directories because they're mounted on the server too, right? Yeah, cool, makes sense. Great. This is awesome. I want to try it.
It's nice. It's really fast as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you can run a browser, if you have a machine that's powerful enough to run a browser locally, you might want to run that locally.
That's also what we want to do. If the base image we have is a fat client image, you can still boot it as a thin client.
Right.
So everything is going to run on the server by default, except that you have everything available locally.
Right.
So you can, any app that you think you could run locally, just run it locally.
Yeah.
That's always quite right. I know that usually Firefox, you always want to run it locally because of Flash.
Right.
Flash uses like 100 megabit of bandwidth because it renders frame by frame. So yeah, you really want it locally.
Yeah. And it uses, I mean, even the browser uses a lot of CPU on the shared server. I mean, all the JavaScript stuff is super intense, right?
Yeah, especially if you like Flash.
Yeah.
Anything with Flash. Do you use LTSP?
No, I know of it. I look at it, but I don't use it personally.
Okay.
Is in charge of the thin client product at Canonical, but that's not LTSP.
Ah, okay, that's one. The one where they actually need the local images.
But actually, I'm thinking, you know, I didn't know about the fat client option, but with the fat client option, it gets actually closer, and there might be overlap. There may be stuff that we do that are applicable to you.
And that and the .emg file we discussed with Oliver, that's basically building what you need.
It's single system image, yeah. So we should talk. And there is stuff that we're doing that maybe you might be interested in, although I'm not sure, like authenticating against a Citrix server or terminal server. So we have Python hooks bindings for basically leveraging FreeRDP, which will soon have a CredSSP API to authenticate directly against, you know, a terminal server of sorts, or eventually it's going to be a terminal server gateway too, right? And what you could do is you could not have to have a directory on the LTSP server, just leverage. If someone wants just to have a Citrix environment, you know, they could do that. Or a terminal server environment, right? Because if you have, I mean, have you tried doing the opposite, which is using Samba as a directory server for terminal for Windows 2008 R2? Are there limitations or? So, you know, for directories, so the thing you want to avoid is having two directory servers, right? So either you need to sync, but that's sloppy, right? Or you need to choose one or the other, right?
So currently, the login is done over SSH.
Right.
So that's whatever the server is using, we're using. So if the server is joined to a Samba4 domain, then you're actually using Samba4.
And so what we did is we did a PAM authentication module that authenticates against a Citrix server. So basically, you could have your SSH authenticate against our lead PAM Citrix. And then you don't need to worry about having a Samba directory, which means the setup is easier, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing now with libpam SSH that we wrote. Right. That's exactly the same use case.
And so your libpam SSH, can you then hook it up to, I don't know, PAM LDAP and go to an AD server directly? Or? So
libpam SSH is going to, when you enter your login, your password, it's going to connect over SSH to the server on the other end, use that login password to log in. Right. So if the server on the other hand is connected to LDAP, then you get LDAP authentication.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
And then if you do getEnt or any of the NSS calls, they are going to also be forwarded over SSH to the server, and the server does it. Right. That's the easiest way to set it up for us, so that the client itself doesn't have to know LDAP, doesn't have to know anything, just uses SSH.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And then also, that mechanism, does it work with your fat client thing?
Yes. Okay. Fat clients and thin clients authenticate the exact same way. Okay. It's just a matter of whether you are starting the extension locally or remotely. Okay. That's the only difference. Okay. I think it's literally the only difference in the code. We just have a if that can't, it's the X11 accession.
Yeah.
If not, SSH burner, it's the X11 accession.
Cool.
And the plan is that when we actually switch to using libpam SSH by default, we'll probably also switch to IDM instead of using LDM as we can.
Yep.
Trying to figure out where room 214 is.
It's upstairs.
Yeah, it's upstairs, but it's not on the plan.
214, I can bring you there. It's just complicated.
It's somewhere over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the food?
Don't know.
So you know what 207 is? So it's either, yeah, no, so it's there. Yeah, no, it's there.
So you would need to go all the way to this one, then
and
some
it's
other.
coming back, yeah.
Okay.